I'm Matthew O'Leary, and I'm the campaign manager for Hank for Senate.
And I'm Anthony Roberts, and I was the campaign coordinator for Hank for Senate. We were feeling pretty jaded and disheartened by politics in 2012, feeling kind of discouraged with the whole political atmosphere in the country altogether.
It was very much focusing on, just making sure someone specifically doesn't get into office versus, actually wanting to vote for someone.
Matt took a picture of Hank looking up at a sunbeam, and as a joke, I edited the picture and made it into a campaign picture for Hank for Senate.
So we decided that it would be fun to make a Hank for Senate yard sign and stick it out in there with the other yard signs. We realized that we were kind of onto something. A number of people had told us he certainly couldn't do any worse than our current representatives, that he would be kind of a refreshing face. So Hank decided that he was going to run for the U.S. Senate in 2012. The day after it hit the media with WTOP, I was on the phone with Associated Press doing an interview, and Anthony was on the phone with International Business Times doing an interview, and we just were looking at Hank thinking, where is this going to go from here?
Right now, as we speak, there is a cat running for Senate from Virginia.
Only in America can you find a cat running for political office.
There is allegedly a cat who is running for U.S. Senate in Virginia.
Frontrunners Tim Kaine and George Allen now have to contend with a potentially formidable, albeit furry-faced, opponent from Springfield.
I heard about Hank when I was watching the news.
I was reading on the WTOP webpage.
It showed up in my Facebook feed, and I thought, a cat running for Senate in Virginia? How can I miss that?
First of all, Hank is a cat, and I am a total cat lover.
Since moving down to Virginia, I hadn't really found my place yet, and I have always done cat rescue work, and here was this rescued cat running for Senate, and I thought, you know what, maybe this is my community.
We were just so excited that we had someone else to vote for.
Once it got picked up by the media, we realized that it gave us the opportunity to have a little bit of say. We weren't expecting a ton of votes. We had our expectations tempered, I guess, but we still wanted to have fun with it, and we still wanted to show off Hank, of course. As soon as we'd put the tie on Hank, he knew that it was time to work. Hank expressed himself usually through Facebook. He would write these long articles that Anthony and I would help edit for him.
I am creating a positive campaign. Instead of using funds to attack my opponents, I'm donating every single dime of my campaign money to animal rescue groups, one of my core platform beliefs.
Hank was officially an independent. He was a little more conservative, definitely more conservative than Matt and myself.
When Hank would get me up in the morning, he would tear apart the liberal books that I had alongside the bed. So as you can see here, he tore up the cover here, and on Jon Stewart's book, he chewed on the outside of it. But he felt it was very important to run as an independent.
He didn't want to go with any political party because political parties seem to be, if you're not with that party, as soon as someone says something that's for the other party, people tend to immediately turn off their brain and just write that person off.
I definitely, without realizing it, was part of the problem. Being a liberal, anytime any Republican spoke out, I would just dismiss them outright.
Whereas Hank wanted to be independent and say, let's tackle it with our brains instead of a knee-jerk reaction and actually make solutions.
My plan to create jobs focuses on reinvigorating the nation's infrastructure and pushing for new technologies being adopted for common everyday use by all Americans. While I absolutely agree that excess government spending and waste must be stopped, it will not bring back the economy. We need to shift funds from excess into new base spending programs. Super PACs have spent $16.5 million in Virginia alone this election cycle. Once in office, I will do everything in my power to remove these committees.
I met Hank when he was a little kitten. He was about 4 weeks old. He was just rescued from a kill shelter. We had decided to foster Hank and his brother. When we were fostering, we kind of fell in love with them. Once we adopted out his brother, we realized we can't foster anymore, so we decided to keep Hank at that time.
He was a very serious kitty. He was very set on a timetable. He had certain expectations, and you had to meet them. Hank was definitely my little baby boy. He loved cuddle time. He would spend many hours on my lap curled up or sleeping. We were definitely very close with each other.
Once our government was about good conscience, with differing opinions, offering solutions. Today, it's common for the party out of power to sow seeds of distrust about our government and politicians.
The atmosphere of the 2012 elections was so ugly. It was so divisive and angry and full of meanness. And it made me not want to vote for the first time since I've been able to vote. And so when Hank popped up on the scene, it was like a ray of sunshine.
He said, I am a different choice than the other candidates. And let me tell you why. Let me show you why. He was a patriot.
America is the greatest land of all. A land where all people can live free, can learn, can work. We need a politician who embodies these ideals and will work to make sure America stays the greatest land of all. Vote Hank for U.S. Senate.
I believe in Hank because Hank believes in the value of American job, putting people like me back to work.
Unlike many politicians, Hank is honest, direct, and offers real solutions without rhetoric.
He's an independent, sensitive soul.
I believe in Hank.
I believe in Hank.
I believe in Hank.
I believe in Hank, and so should you.
I was currently not working at the time, which was definitely a good thing because I would spend approximately 40 hours a week on the campaign. Hank definitely helped me with that. It was very surreal to be working for my cat. One of the great things about it was that everybody took it as serious as we did.
My feelings about Hank evolved to a point where if I could take him home with me, I would have. My Hank wall has, it started off basically with this picture, compilation of pictures. A picture of Hank. This is his official campaign photograph. And his bumper stickers, one of which is still on my car today. And with each item, with the photograph, we got a certificate of authenticity signed by Hank himself. My coworkers love my wall. They find it highly entertaining. They find it fascinating that I so adored a cat so much and actually followed his political campaign. Hank meant a lot to me, both as a cat and a politician. It seems kind of odd to, to talk about a cat that way, but he really did mean a lot to me. He was something to follow, something that we could have faith in and trust in and actually believe in.
Well, first it seemed like a novelty. And then as I realized the power that this Cats campaign had, when you see that kind of power and you know it can be used for good and not evil, you get excited. You think, maybe something really awesome is going to come out of this, that the other candidates are going to have to show up and be kind because they can't be outdone by a cat.
Well, I thought it was good-natured, it was fun, it was positive, it was nothing negative, and I said, well, you know, we could use some good-natured commentary in the midst of campaigns, and so.
Hank wants your vote for Senate, but what do you really know about Hank? Hank has never released his birth certificate, his tax returns, and has never responded to allegations that he used catnip. He says he's gone to the vet, but there is no record of him serving in any military branch. We need more facts and fewer fat cats in Washington.
The great thing about Hank was that he never responded to negative criticism or the attack ads.
I'm committed to running a positive campaign. It's easy to fall into an us versus them mentality which keeps us apart. Let's set aside differences and unify to restore this nation we love.
The reason there's so many negative ads is they think they work. You have so many ads being run by these independent groups that are not coordinated with the campaigns, and by law they cannot advocate for someone, so they criticize the others. The voters are motivated so often by fear or negativity as opposed to, gosh, I really love this candidate. Contentious campaigns, that's healthy, that's part of our country. However, the campaigns ought to be less on negativity and criticizing the other side as opposed to putting forward positive ideas.
I think Hank transcended politics. He was a uniter. You could reach out and hug him. And you could feel like that hugging, that touching of him, purring, maybe him rubbing his face up against your hand. Are you going to get that from some other candidate? If you did, you'd probably be freaked out. But from Hank, it made you feel safe. And I feel too often our politicians don't make people feel safe. They make them feel patently unsafe and afraid.
Friends of Hank, I'm coming to you for your support. While we've been running for office as a write-in candidate, it may be time to take the next steps in our campaign.
Hank the Cat is not an official independent candidate yet, but his owner, Matthew O'Leary, is considering filing for him to be an official candidate after all of the remarkable and overwhelming publicity that Hank the Cat has received.
I consider Hank the Cat.
And it's possible that the Maine Coon is going to get my vote.
Let's work together to get Hank the Cat on the Virginia ballot as a form of protest. We'll need 10,000 signatures. We have 1 month's time.
We got between 1,000 and 2,000 signatures. We still felt, regardless of how many signatures that we got, that we needed to take it directly to Richmond. Once I got to Richmond, I went to the State Board of Elections. I asked to meet with an election board official. He did come out after a few minutes. He stated to us that the Constitution doesn't allow for a non-human to be placed on the ballot, which I'm a little bit fuzzy about because I don't remember the Constitution specifically saying only humans are allowed on the ballot. We still felt every single one of those signatures were a valid voice, showing that we wanted a different Virginia, that we wanted a different country. We made sure that our voices were heard by the elections board that day.
Since my campaign started, I have been told that I could do better than our politicians. Let's demand a higher standard. Let's tell people who use politics of division, your time is over. Our time is now.
I'm just wild about Hanky, and Hank is wild about me. The heavenly blisses of his kisses filled me with ecstasy. He's sweet just like chocolate candy, or like honey from a bee. Oh, I'm just wild about Hanky, and he's just wild about he can't do without. He's just wild about me.
There is allegedly a cat who is running for U.S. Senate in Virginia.
Frontrunners Tim Kaine and George Allen now have to contend with a potentially formidable, albeit furry-faced opponent from Springfield.
Now I'm just wild about Hanky, and Hank is wild about me. The heavenly blisses of his kisses filled me with ecstasy. He's sweet just like chocolate candy, or like honey from a bee. Oh, I'm just wild about Hanky, and he's just wild about he can't live without. He's just wild about me.
I've heard from a number of friends that they're afraid to vote for me because the race is too close or they don't want X to win. But a vote for me is not a waste. In fact, it's the only way to be heard.
Right before the election, we were pretty nervous about how things were going to go.
I just wanted to make sure that I could look back and no matter what say that we did our very best.
It was really great and also kind of odd, but I really do think that people started believing in Hank.
It wasn't just a really cute kitty running for political office.
It was amazing to hear from people from all walks of life, extreme liberals, Democrats, Republicans, extreme right-wing, Tea Partiers. They were all saying to Hank that this is exactly what the country needs. They were saying that this is what their beliefs really are. But it's something completely different to actually register your vote for Hank. I did vote for Hank, and I am proud of that.
When I voted for Hank, I had a great deal of pride. It felt like we had this was the culmination of everything we had done, and this was a vote that he had well earned.
This was the first time my mom was voting after many years.
I have friends that work in politics and they do polling and they elect people. And I would reach out to them every week. Can I vote for Hank? No, you have to vote. You have to vote for a candidate. You cannot use your vote on a cat.
Hank was her inspiration to come out and vote.
And I was so conflicted.
It was a great day.
I was getting more and more agitated.
We went up there early.
I was still polling my friends who work in politics up until 5 o'clock that night.
It just felt really wonderful to be there with my mom and feel feel some energy and to be put on your sticker and say, we voted, and who did you vote for? We voted for Hank.
I was standing there with the marker in my hand, trying to, and I stood there for a long time. And I voted for Tim Kaine, and it broke my heart. Election results were whatever. Seeing all the write-in votes for Hank was so life-affirming. That's all that I cared about.
It was pretty exciting to see quite a turnout for Hank.
That just made us feel really good that it wasn't just 10 of us that voted. It was almost 7,000 That's pretty amazing.
I was very, very proud with the final number. You know, it was very exciting. It was definitely a vindication for Hank's message.
I think people said, all right, well, you know, I've gotten so sick of hearing these other two fighting with one another and disagreeing and debating and all of that.
But we would look back on the day that we voted for Hank, and we knew that, you know, we were a part of this special movement. Though he lost the election, he won it in our hearts.
Today, I'm announcing the end of my campaign. When I started this campaign, I was just a cat. A wonderful, fluffy, cute cat, no doubt. But I now belong to each of you. We made a real difference in thousands of lives, human and animal. I hope this campaign has helped you become a better person as it's helped me to become a better cat and witness the beauty of this nation. That people such as yourselves who want the best will fight against all odds for it. With tears in my eyes and love in my heart, Hank.
What's that? After the election, it was back to business as usual.
It was difficult to kind of get back to normal life after having such a less than normal life the previous 7 months. So that was a bit of a change for me. I had decided, well, I probably should get a job now because I'm not a campaign manager anymore. Hank went back to being a normal cat, so to speak. He still enjoyed his photo shoots. He was just back to being our baby boy, but he definitely had become the world's baby boy as well, too. I came downstairs and he was lying at the foot of the stairs, and I could tell he hadn't slept, and I just went back upstairs to the bed and just cried my eyes out because I knew it was time for him to go.
I felt very dedicated. In a lot of denial, I guess, looking back. I just thought, you know, we're just going to take care of it. So it was a very, very, I'm not sure how to put it, but
it was just an immeasurable loss.
The magic of Hank wasn't just personal, and it was far more than the mere novelty of a cat running for office. There is a great truth in how politics have made us all skeptics and cynics, our community relationships divisive and intolerant. I wrote this to my friends. My dear friend Hank, who ran for Senate here in Virginia, died yesterday, and I am not ashamed to say that I am inconsolable. Hank represented something to me that I can almost not express, but a kind of hope for the future. A way of transcending politics as usual, to try to actually make the country and the Commonwealth a better place. What does that say when a cat can give me that kind of hope, but humans fall woefully short?
Hank really showed that despite feelings prior to the campaign, there is hope for this country, and us people really have the power to change it.